What up, IDS Mob? Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. This is the show where you go to learn how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious, sweet, precious alone time. And so in today's show, we're going to be talking about no contact and pull-away test. My most popular video on this channel continues to be the pull-away test video. And in addition to getting a lot of comments under that video, I have new people that come to the video and want clarification on things like, what does the pull-away test actually mean? How do I pull the pull-away test when she's doing it? What does no contact mean? How long do I go no contact before I reach out to her? And then what do I do when she reaches out to me? So I figured this would be a good show to kind of like clarify some of those things that I've talked about before, so you'll get a better overall understanding of what all these things mean, so you'll no longer be confused, and so you will know going forward what to do when these situations arise. In addition to that, I got a plethora of other things that I'm going to be talking about in today's show. Got lined up in my notes here ready to go, but of course, this show is all about you guys as well. So during the course of the show, if you have any questions you want to ask me that I can answer on the show, simply leave them in the chat and I will get to those questions at some point during this broadcast. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get into this episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show.
It's the Introvert Dating Success Podcast, the show for introverted men that's all about learning how to attract beautiful women and still get your precious alone time. And now, here's your host, dating coach and fellow introvert, Harry Wilmington.
And of course, guys, as always, the show is brought to you by my website, introvertdatingsuccess.com. You can go there now to check out my wonderful audiobooks, ebooks, programs, all designed to help you date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. You can also sign up for one-on-one coaching. So if you have a situation you're going through that needs a little bit more of a deep dive into it and you want my help, you can sign up for that at the website under the coaching tab. Also, while you guys are coming in the door, be sure to give this video a like because it helps me in the algorithm, and subscribe to this channel to be notified of when I do these shows. Typically, I do them every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but I do sporadically go live through random parts of the day sometimes, and so you can be notified of that if you sign up for notifications. All right, so we got a lot of stuff to cover today, guys, and so before I get into the main topic, we're going to cover a few other things that I came across my desk during the course of this week. So let me just look at my list here of things. Okay, so to start off with, I want to show you guys a video that I came across on TikTok this week because you're going to see a couple that's arguing about something in therapy, and then there's two people down below that are analyzing what's going on. But what's happening in this situation is that they're in therapy, and the therapist is trying to talk about a situation, and she uses a particular word that the guy says is the wrong word. And so as a result of him getting hung up on this word, the conversation now gets derailed. And I thought it was interesting because I'm going to be honest, guys, I am very guilty of doing this, of like, I'm very much a stickler for words and phrases meaning the things that they actually mean. And so I've had to train myself to recognize, oh, this person said this word, that's not actually the correct word, but that's not what they're trying to get at in this argument. And so being obsessed over this word is not what they're looking for. So let's go ahead and get into this video right here.
Why is the moment where someone is not just right, why is that so devastating?
I don't know that it's devastating. I think it's...
See, you did it just then. Right. Devastating is not quite the right word, and you're going to correct me for devastating, and you can't see that devastating.
That's okay.
Okay, so you hear in the argument, she said that, why is X, Y, and Z so devastating? And he's all of a sudden like, wait a minute, devastating? I wouldn't say that's not the right word. I wouldn't say I'm devastated by the thing. And so he's removing the feeling tone of what she's trying to get at, because the fact that he's being pointed out in this argument, he doesn't subconsciously like that. So now he's going to get hung up on this word to now make the argument about the word being used instead of what she's trying to get at in the argument.
Have like,
it is simply not.
This is the most frustrating relationship dynamic when you're in a conversation or a confrontation with your partner and you cannot move forward because one of the partners gets hung up on the exact definition of a word or your word choice or the facts or the timeline, and the context of what you're trying to express emotionally gets completely lost.
Yeah, it's like the emotional undertone is overlooked. So it's so trippy. This is a textbook example of overcompensation for a wound of judgment.
Yeah.
And so a person does this because they're trying to avoid any possible rejection. And so the context for him is he's being brought something to look at and be accountable for and vulnerable to. But to deflect from that is he'll nitpick the wording and the words she uses or his wife uses so that he exhausts them.
It derails the whole conversation.
They have a whole grammar definition conversation. And it's so frustrating because the whole meaning of the conversation gets lost and it makes you want to give up.
Now, what's interesting is both men and women are guilty of doing this, all right? But I would argue that because men particularly, we get very hung up on like, you know, words mean words, and the things that people are saying should mean the things that they actually are. Because like, we're the ones that get more frustrated if women say things to us like, you know, oh, I'll totally be there, and then they don't show up. Like, we're more mad that they didn't stay true to their word. And on top of like, also they flaked on us without letting us know. We get very annoyed when women say one thing and then do another. And it's like, but she said this, it should mean this. So I would argue that guys are typically more guilty of this because we like to think that the words being said are the things being said. But in an argument context, you have to remember that, again, this couple's in counseling because they're having a variety of issues, right? So the woman therapist might not get all the exact words right when she's trying to describe a situation, but she's thinking he's going to be smarter to know that I'm bringing this up in this context because it's going to be something that's important for them to break down. But he is now feeling attacked. So rather than focus on the overall tone of what she's getting at, he's going to focus on, but wait, she was devastating. That's not the word. Now we got to talk about how your word usage is wrong. And what that's going to do is the woman that's sitting there that wants to get things better with him is going to be thinking like, here he goes again, deflecting the situation over a word. Is it any wonder we can never get anything solved?
So a partner who overcompensates for the wound of judgment will lean toward being emotionally cold in their communication, often coming off as cutting, critical, or even harsh. They can habitually point out errors or deviations even in trivial matters. Their communication style is characterized by unwavering emphasis on correctness and precision, like exactly what he was doing. They will often insist on precise definitions of words, details, and facts, or correct grammatical usage, making their partner feel scrutinized and judged. Even innocent remarks will be interpreted by them as criticism.
Now, again, guys, this is me calling myself out because I grew up in a household where like grammar was important, spelling, punctuation, all that stuff was very, very important to learn, right? And so for most of my life, I have been a guy that has been able to, the times that I'm sarcastic with people, it was stuff involving like word phrases. Like I'll use a word knowing that it means something else, but I'm using it in this context, so it's funny, right? But I found in previous relationships, when we'd get into arguments, I had to be honest and understand that like when she would be using certain words or phrases, I'd be like, wait a minute, that's not the exact word. What's going on? So I didn't know back then that was me trying to deflect from me feeling like I was attacked. Nowadays, not that ever goes away, but I'm able to recognize, oh, okay, she said this word. Obviously, she meant this word over here, but I'm not going to call her out because this isn't a situation where that's necessary. And I find, as annoying as it is to me to this day to hear when somebody's using a wrong word, I'm also able to recognize not every situation warrants me calling that person out for a specific thing. If there's a moment where you're with your girl and she's like having a heated debate with you and she says something that's like from the heart that maybe she's feeling you did a thing to her or you made her feel a certain way, this is not the time to be like, well, actually, I think you meant this word over here, because it comes off as pretentious. And what she's going to say here is that it makes the guy in that situation, he's feeling dumb. So he's trying to correct her grammar to elevate himself back up to a higher status to where he doesn't feel as dumb, and he's putting himself above her. Again, these kind of situations should be more about you two trying to come to an understanding and a ground where you guys can get back on the same footing versus I'm going to prove that I'm right by correcting you about what you're saying.
That is not a proper use of that word in any of the word. Unless you're being hyperbolic. And I don't know what the point of that would be.
He's using words like, oh, being hyperbolic, because that is a very highly educated word that he's subconsciously throwing out there to say, I use words that are not only are the right ones, but that are probably above what you minions are using right now.
If the point was
I
clear,
wasn't being hyperbolic. I'm actually assuming that in some way, I think there's a much more emotional underlying structure to this.
okay, but how can we quickly determine whether that's true or not?
See, so as a guy, he's like, okay, let's just figure out the problems. We can get on to the next thing. And you know, hey, as guys, we are built to be problem solvers. So ideally, we want to try to get things solved as quickly as possible. But there are going to be situations, especially when it pertains to like relationships and emotional dynamics, where a fast, quick fix isn't going to solve the problem, especially for her, because she's going to not only want to see you change, but she's going to want to have time and evidence to see that this change is a long-lasting change. So to be like, well, what's the quickest way we can solve this? That's not going to work for her, because you might do it for like one day, but women have been in the experience of a guy will fix a thing for like 1 or 2 times, and then he'll go back to his old ways. So the quick fix isn't the situation here. But again, he's trying to bypass this because he doesn't want to feel like he's being attacked in this situation.
You can ask yourself if you want to take something of what I'm saying to see if it's useful to you, or if you want to spar with me. If you don't want to spar with me, we don't have to discuss the accuracy. We just have to see if it's useful, what I'm saying, whether it's accurate or not.
I don't know how to do that.
He doesn't know how because he's never healed his judgment wounds.
Now that says, I can't read the screen here. It says, overcompensating judgment is a disguise for low self-esteem. By pointing the finger at others, they keep the spotlight off themselves in order to appear perfect and always right. They point out flaws in their partner, even their wrong use of words. Now, that's an important one because, you know, on this channel, I get a lot of comments under my videos, and I got a lot of letters from guys. And most of my videos, I try to say, look, women have their issues, and they got to definitely deal with that in a better way as it pertains to them dealing with men and getting the men they want. But this channel is for guys. So I'm on here to try to help you guys take some self-ownership of how you're reacting and responding to things. And that said, I will have guys come on here, well, it's just that all women are crazy and they need to do a better job. And when they do pull away this, and when they say this thing, and they just need to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, again, I've never at once said that women couldn't do better, but they're not the ones primarily watching this show. So if you're a guy coming to me, I'm going to say, hey, here's how you can handle these situations. Here's what you can do next time you're in front of a woman to maybe attract them better, or how you can be a better listener, or what to do when they start to like pull away a bit. And so for you to respond like, oh, but it's all their fault. You can be in victim land all day long. Women aren't going to care, and it's not going to make them attracted to you. So your better bet is to say, okay, we know women have flaws, but you're the common denominator in all the relationships up to this point that have or have not worked out. If you find it's like 10 or 12 women that you've asked out and they've all said no, or you've gone on dates with them and then they want to flake after that, it's not just them, you know? I had a comment that I was going to get to later, but there was a guy, I did a video last week. Let me see what it was. I did a video last week where, it was a video where I talked about women that are doing this TikTok trend of dancing to their ex-boyfriends' messages, and how like these exes of theirs are like leaving these messages like, oh, you stupid B, and this is that, and I hate your guts, or they're like crying their eyes out. And so the guy left a comment, and the comment was, where was it? Oh, here it was. He said, I'm not accusing these women of anything, but from past experience, I know a woman can be as evil as she wants to a man, and it's okay. But as soon as we react, we are the bad person. I would like to see the other side of the story. We have no idea what these women did that made these men so mad. And my response to that basically is like, yeah, to this point, we don't know what those women did, but I don't care about what the women did that made these men mad. I care about the fact that these men felt like the reaction they needed to have was to call these women up and be mad at them on the phone and yell at them and scream things and obscenities. Like, even if the women, even if all the women on all of TikTok that are dancing to their exes' messages, they all somehow were all actually the bad guys. What matters is, why do the guys feel the need to react like that? And it's because they're in the victim mode of putting the blame all the time on women, and that they should know better, and I'm going to correct them, this and that. And again, that does not attract women. You yelling at women that used to be around for you and aren't anymore doesn't make them want to come back to you, and it doesn't make you look like the winner in the situation. So it goes back to, again, guys, you got to understand that you may be feeling that all women are crazy, and when you get in an argument with your girl, that it's all her fault, or you don't want to be attacked. So rather than focus on what the situation is, you're going to get tripped up on words that you can deflect to as a way of saying, like, we should focus on this word that you said instead of what I actually did. Like, again, none of these things are going to help you get women. And I am all about making sure that you are in control of yourself. So that way, when situations arise that maybe aren't to your liking, you know how to handle them better. Whether it's a woman flaking on you or whether it's you're in an argument with your mate. Hey, I don't like when I'm in a relationship and the woman I'm dating comes to me and says, hey, Harry, just so you know, like this thing bugged me, or you said this thing the other day, and I don't think you meant to hurt me, but it did. Like, I don't like those situations either, because I like to think I'm the hero of my own story. I'm a great guy all the time. Realistically, I know that's not true, but like we're going with that theory, right? I will still be able to say, okay, from that person's perspective, whatever they're saying is their reality of how I was to them. I need to understand that more. And then I can have the time where I explain where I was coming from, but also understand that doesn't take away from how it made them feel. And then be like, hey, you know what? My bad, babe. You know what? I see how that could hurt your feelings. You know, I'll try to do better in the future. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong with you as a guy owning up to or being able to say, hey, I was part of the problem. Can we go forth and figure this out? Okay. That makes you a better partner. And that makes you a guy that is understanding that, hey, as good of a guy as you're trying to be, there's going to be times where you're just not that guy for that person. I mean, in terms of like, you're trying to be the best you can, but for whatever reason, you misread what their need was, and now you said something or did something that wasn't to their liking. We're all going to make mistakes in relationships. That is totally fine. What is not fine is to act like that never happens and that you're always perfect and that they're the always ones that are crazy and that you got to now deflect off because you don't like the way it feels. It's never going to feel good to be called out. But if you learn to take that less personally and learn that that's just a stepping stone to having a better relationship, if you're able to handle it in the correct way, then you won't end up like this guy where he says he doesn't have the skill set. And to be fair, a lot of us grow up where we don't have that skill set. I've been having interesting conversations lately where I've come to understand that the way in which I grew up is dramatically different from a lot of people, and that, you know, my dad died, but so I had a mom in the household that was willing to sit me, her, and my brother down when we had conflicts and say, okay, let's everybody talk out what they're feeling. Okay, here's what was your viewpoint of what happened. Okay, here's what my viewpoint was. How can we now handle this? Like, because I grew up with that kind of training, that's how I go into relationships when I'm having arguments. I don't take things personally. I'm able to talk it out. And I'm realizing a lot of people aren't of the understanding of that because they didn't actually have that skill set, because most people probably have parents in the household that also, A, don't treat them like adults, like they're like, you're just a kid, so get the freak away, but also aren't even aware of themselves of how to have these kind of conversations in a real way that where everybody can be heard and not be hurt. And so if you didn't grow up in that kind of household, that doesn't take away from it's your job to learn those skills. You can't blame mom and dad for not having the skills to teach you. There are books out there, there's internet, there's people like me, there's YouTube videos. There's no reason to be bad at conflict resolution. But if you are, again, that doesn't excuse you from when you get into a situation. You can't go to your significant other and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I never learned conflict resolution when I grew up. Well, you're grown up now. Learn it. Is the easiest way to not have as many fights, to be more understanding of your significant other, and more importantly, for them to want to also be understanding of you because they see the work you're putting into understanding them. So this video goes on a lot longer, but you can find it on TikTok. But suffice to say, I just wanted to show that because I just thought it was a really great video that I thought you guys could learn from. So let me move this from the studio. Bye-bye, and back up here. All right. So that was the first thing. Like I said, guys, this show is ultimately about you. So if you have any questions you want to ask me during the course of the show, please leave them in the chat. I'll get to them during the course of the show. Speaking of that, though, so last week, I did a video that was responding to a comment that a woman made under one of my videos. So let me go to that one real quick here. So this is the follow-up video. So there was a woman that left a comment under my 3 things she's feeling when she ignores your video and what to do instead. And one of the things I said in that video is that you need to let women experience your absence. Like, absence makes the heart grow fonder, but more importantly, it gives the woman the idea that she's choosing to be with you versus feeling forced. So that woman said, I'm a woman, and what you're saying is incorrect. Everything in excess is inappropriate, but women do not fall in love with a man's absence. We take it as you're talking to other women or that you are not that into us. Watch it, guys, with this kind of advice. So I did a whole video responding to that where I basically said, in short, that for one, the thing she said about women thinking you're talking to other women is not actually a deterrent. If anything, it makes women realize, oh, other women are choosing him. I need to go after him. But more to the point, the part about being absent, I said, you know what? In my dating experience, I found that when I'm a bit more patient and not around as much in the beginning, that women typically tend to be attracted to me faster and fall in love with me a lot faster. Now, with that said, I said at the end of that video, but hey, I could be tripping. So guys, leave me your comments down below and let me know what your experience is where you tried to date a woman and you left her alone, you waited between dates to call her, you whatever, and let me know what the results were, good or bad. I'm not biased. I could be wrong, but let me know what your comments is. And man, some of you guys left some amazing comments. So I'm going to read through these real quick. And so here's a comment somebody left. Somebody said, listen to Harry Boys. He knows exactly what he is talking about. I had a comment from a woman, and a woman left a comment and said, what you're saying makes total sense, especially the part about burning out with too much, too fast. That's what's happening to me currently. And I can confirm that it makes me want to cut it off completely, not just slow down. So what I tell you guys, like she's saying, there's a guy right now that's calling her all the time, texting her all the time, trying to see her nonstop, and it's starting to cause burnout to where the point where she wants to cut him off. Now, she hasn't said she's done it yet, but when women get to the point where they start feeling like they want to cut you off, they're not going to cut you off completely. Like I said before, women are like light dial switches where it's like, it's not like we're like light switches we flip on and off, where women kind of like dial up from dim to medium to like highlight, right? And so when women start feeling like they want to cut you off, they're not going to just go, boop. What they're going to do is they're going to start to do the slow fade. And the reason they're doing a slow fade is because even though they're thinking that they want to get rid of you, they're not completely sure that that's what it is yet. And there's still some level of feeling there for you. So what they're actually doing subconsciously is they're hoping to reset this thing to where you start doing the right things that are going to make her want to come to you. Because if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. But when you as a guy are doing too much, you are in effect chasing her, which is actually pushing her away. And so what they'll do is they'll start giving 1 or 2 word answers to text, or they'll start being flimsy with saying yes to dates. I got to go from like saying an absolute yes to like maybe, and you don't want to be in maybe land because maybe is pretty much a no, right? But they're doing a slow fade because their body and their brain needs time away from you, and women don't know how to ask for that without it sounding stupid. Like if they were to say out loud to you, hey guy, so I'm really like getting to know you, but I need to actually see you a bit less in order to be more attracted to you. Like you hearing that from me saying it, it sounds stupid out loud. And yet that's exactly what women need. Women need time away from you, to reminisce about dates with you, to think about you, and more importantly, to get that feeling of, I want to see him again. Let me reach out to him. It needs to be their choice, all right? And so that's why it's good to give women time between dates to miss you, because that gives them that feeling that they need to want to see you again and desire you and anticipate you. So then she goes on to say, the woman who made the comment may be used to F-boys that ghost when they lose interest or move on to the next. It's really difficult to go from that to dating real men because all your trust and hope has been eroded by boys who use and discard you. So while the space you recommend is healthy, it might trigger a hurt woman and cause her to shut down to the connection. And so this is actually a great example of what I've talked about, where I say that as you start to do some of the things that I'm talking about, there are going to be women that get chased away or are disgusted by it, or like, oh my God, you're playing games. And to her point, those women are usually the ones that are hurt or wounded. And I say this because, look, I've dated plenty of women before, right? I have found, for example, I'm an introvert, right? I need my alone time. I have found the women who are most hurt by the idea of me needing alone time are the ones who didn't get enough hugs as a kid or were constantly pushed away by their parents. And so they're now needy of affection at all times as a way of being able to prove to themselves that somebody wants them. And that's all great. And hey, they may find that guy that shows them all the neediness in the world, but that is not a healthy woman that has a healthy brain or a healthy dynamic in her head about what's going to make relationships work. So at the point that I found women that need all of my time or get stressed out when I don't text them back right away, I found those women have been the most difficult to date and have been the ones that had a lot of trauma. So in effect, you giving space to a woman is actually a great way to test if she is a woman that has a good head on her shoulders, or if she's been through so much that she's damaged goods. And I do not want you dating damaged goods. You can feel sorry for and empathize with women that are damaged goods. But just like I say to you guys, it doesn't matter like what your sob story is, because all women care about is, have you done the work? I say the same to you. You can feel bad for a woman, but if she has not done the work to get herself in a healthy place where she can go into a relationship with a healthy viewpoint, that is not on you to solve that. We're not I'm not in the habit of trying to teach you guys to wear capes and be superheroes. So if you do these things, we're like, if you, for example, wait 4 days between a date to call a woman, and you hit her up on that 4th date to ask her for a date, and her response is, you didn't talk to me for 4 or 5 days, and how could you blah, 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 you're just playing games. Guess what? You sniffed out a woman that was going to be a bad woman to date. So you actually did the right thing by her having the wrong response. All right. So just because you do things that turn women away by doing the right things, that doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It means you're pushing away the women that would have been bad for you in the long term. All right. So I'm glad this woman pointed that out. So then I had another comment. And this guy said, recently I had a second date. Asked her out sometime over this past weekend, and she said yes. And so after he asked her out, he said, I cut contact, meaning he stopped reaching out. She reached out to me the day before the date, asking if we were still hanging out. Of course, I said yes. Not gonna lie, it was a pretty decent date. So I tell you guys quite frequently that at the point that you set a date, ideally you're setting a date to where it's gonna happen like the next day or the day after, so it's not too far along. But I've literally set up dates where I set the date up and then I'll wait like a week. And then sure enough, the day before the date, girl hits me up. Hey, Harry, just want to make sure we're still on. And my response is always like, to her, I'll say, yes, the date's on. In my head, I'm like, I'm the one that set up the date. Why would I forget about the date that I set up? And I'm a guy trying to bang a hot woman. How would I avoid the chance to do that? Like, but the point is, women will do that because they're the ones that are in the habit of just canceling on guys when they're not feeling him, but don't want to say that to his face. So that's why they're going to be the ones that end up reaching out, because they have a bad history of doing that themselves, thinking that guys are the same. I'm like, I'll go on a date with a girl that I don't think I have a shot with if it means we can at least, make out for a little bit, or at least the past version of me did. So suffice to say, but the point is, he's pointing out again, what do you do? He set a date, left her alone. He used the tactic of being absent for a little bit. And what happened? She came after him to make sure that she was going to still be validated by him wanting to do the date, and then they had the date. So again, now, to be fair, there was a guy that left this comment. He said, my own experience as antidote, I can't say the words. This is his own experience, but every time I create absence, not a single time has it worked, and she gained more interest. In fact, every time I slowed the text to have her initiate, she stops. Now, somebody responded to that and said, you have to be desirable in the first place for that to work. If she doesn't like you, then your absence will have no effect on her. Now, that is partially true. That is very true. But I want to go a step further, because his comment doesn't give us any other intel. Like he says, every time I slowed the text to have her initiate, she stops. But that doesn't tell me if that means that in the beginning, he was already texting excessively, because it's very hard to go from you're texting nonstop to suddenly you're slowing it down. That looks suspicious to women, because now you're not being consistent in your activities. But more to the point, if he was texting a lot in the beginning, at the point where he says, okay, it's time for me to slow down, she may have already been annoyed so much at him texting so much that she might have already been turned off, to where when he finally realizes, oh, wait, I should probably slow this down, she's already turned off, so now it's not going to help. So as a general blanket rule for guys, I typically say that your texting should not be all that much in the beginning. But what does that mean? Well, a lot of guys in the beginning, they're sending long form paragraph text, and they're sending back-to-back texts versus sending a text and then waiting for her to send a text next. So if in the beginning, you're a guy that was sending long paragraph text and you were sending 3 or 4 at a time, then yeah, it's going to be hard to recover from that. You as a guy should be sending texts that are no more than like 3 to 5 lines, because on a phone, 3 to 5 lines is already a lot of text, but you're trying to send like, a text that's like 3 or 4 sentences. That's like 15 to 18 lines. A woman's screen's going to look like this. It's going to be all your words. And psychologically, to a woman, that looks like you're saying so much because you need her attention, because you're desperate for it. You're not trying to give that off as a guy, but that's what it's looking on the screen to a woman. So this is why in the beginning, you're texting, you wait for her to respond back. She responds with something, then you respond back with a text of your own and a question back and forth until at some point you ask for a date or you hear her say, well, we should meet up sometime. But either way, like when you're doing that, you're still not texting a whole lot. You're texting just enough to see if she warrants going out on a date with. But you're not trying to use texting in the beginning to build rapport, to be overly flirty. You're saving all that stuff for in person where it's going to be more effective. All right. And then lastly, there was a guy that commented also, but he was going through a situation. So he had asked me a question. He had said, would you ever recommend a call after 4 or 5 days or stick with the text? So what he's asking is, after you wait that 4 or 5 days, when you're going to hit her up for a date, for that second or third date, do you text her or do you call her? Now, admittedly, I'm 42. I'm old school. I am all for phone calls. But I found, as an older gentleman, I've been able to date women that are in their 20s, and the same tactic, phone call. And here's the thing. I do phone calls because the fact that I'm very much aware that texting is the thing that everybody does today. That's the point of the phone call, is because you are going to stand out from 97% of the other bozos in her DMs and in her texting stream that are all about texting and texting and texting. And also, as I've said before, I'm not in the habit of wanting to leave evidence of me saying things that in hindsight can make me look like I was simping or trying to be too needy of her attention. So if I do a phone call, she can pick up, she can hear my voice. Vocal inflections people don't put enough emphasis on how important vocal inflections are to attraction. Like when women hear the tonality of your voice and how smooth it is when it's coming out and the words you're saying, that's an added bonus to her being more attracted to you than just reading some digital text. And it's the kind of digital text that everybody sends. And digital texts do not change. It does change? Vocal tone. How one guy sounds versus how you sound are going to be different. And your tonality of your voice could be doing all the things, but you want to stick to text. Not going to help. So I say it's not that you can't get a date if you text her back and say, hey, let's go on a date. I'm just saying, one, the tonality of your voice is helpful. Also, the boldness to call her up and risk her not picking up and risk her rejecting you by voice to make that call. Just that action, women are going to be like, oh, he has no fear at all about trying to ask me out and to actually, hear me as a woman. And he's not gonna be afraid if I say no to him because he's a guy, he's a man's man. So I stick to phone calls, but again, you could do texting. I just said phone calls. So I told him I found phone calls work well. Then somebody else said, if you don't know what to do, no contact is always the correct answer. If she likes you, she will eventually reach out. If she doesn't, she didn't like you enough to reach out. Her actions or inaction will tell you everything you need to know. Now, I've said that, if you wait 4 or 5 days to initiate a text or a call to a woman for that next date, I have found waiting that long, a woman that's starting to build interest in you will reach out to you and say, hey, hi, as a way of letting you know, hey, I'm still around. You should totally ask me out. At the point that they reach out, yes, you did want to go into asking them for a date, whether it's the next day or further into the future. The point is, women reaching out to you, they're really going to be like, hey, I had a great time. Let's go out again. They're going to reach out with a little, hi, what's up? Or I'm sending you a meme that's so funny, ha, ha, ha. Any contact a woman reaches out to you with, it's code for, I'm still around, ask me on a date. At which point you just say, ha, that's such a funny meme, or, oh, I'm doing great, blah, 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 blah. Hey, random question, are you free this day or this day? So forth and so on, right? So anyway, but that's not what the guy was asking. So then the original guy responded back to that and said, I was referring about the time taken in between dates. And then he says this, I ended up calling her and setting up the second date after 4 days of not reaching out to her. And she said yes. So what do we learn from all this? Is that this woman said that being absent is not going to work. And I would never fall for that, blah, 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 blah. And yet, as we can see from these responses, it works pretty darn well. Now, in follow-up to that, there was another person that left an interesting comment. Oh, and he said, women will always lie to hide their true nature if they are even aware of their own nature. So this is in reference to the fact that this woman is saying that being absent is not going to attract her. And yet I've just proven that from these comments and my own experience that is a lie. But why would women do that? And so this is where we get into it's important to note that I've said on the show before that you shouldn't really go to women and ask other women how to attract other women, because they're going to tell you all things that are incorrect, right? They're going to tell you the things that sound good on paper, like, oh, you should get her flowers. You should tell her how you feel. And the reality is this, is that I don't know if you guys have heard like the dark triad, or like the things like narcissism, perfectionism, all these other things that are negative tier things that actually can attract women, but it can also be to their detriment if guys use those things in the wrong way. And so the reason that women can't tell you the true things of what's going to attract them is because if you're the kind of guy that's going to use that to manipulate women, or to be narcissistic towards them, or to use that against them in some kind of harmful fashion, then that's going to be to their detriment. So for example, right, I tell you guys, there is nothing wrong with waiting 4 to 5 days in between dates to contact a woman, or to only ask her out once a week, and to have times where she doesn't see you. Like, to be patient, because that's going to build up her attraction, right? Now, that is a very true thing that, again, I have personally done, and I've taught others to do, and it has worked. But women cannot tell you, hey, after that first date, you should like totally not call this girl that you like, or not send her flowers, this and that, because if they say that to you, that's tapping into, if you're the guy that's going to misuse that, then you being absent could be that you're seeing other women, or that you are, using her for her money, or doing some other thing that's going to bring harm to her. And so it doesn't sound right to a woman to say to you as a guy, hey, do these various things. Don't call her. If she argues with you, just walk away, or like ignore her. Like, saying those kind of things, for one, they sound mean coming out of anybody's mouth, including mine. But also the point is that even though those things do work, a woman saying that is basically telling you to, in her head, be mean to this girl. And that then means if she says that to you, then other guys might be getting that same advice and do that to her. And it's not now in her benefit for a guy to be told to ignore her, even though it does work. All right. So just be mindful, guys, that women are going to give you advice that to them sounds like it should be helpful and it should work. And they're not going to tell you some of the deeper, darker things that actually work. I try to tell you guys those things because I don't want you to be like an evil guy, but I want you to know that, me telling you, if you do this certain action, a woman's going to feel this thing. It's not for you to then treat women badly. It's for you to know that you're not doing anything more than, for example, being patient. You're taking her on a date for a good time and then just leaning back for a bit. And that alone is going to be enough for her to sit there for a few days and wonder, is he going to call me again? I really liked him. Why isn't he talking to me? Those might seem like bad things. You're not doing anything but just being patient, and she's going to go through that. But you knowing that she's going to go through that is not a bad thing. It's good for you to know that that's a way that she's going to need to feel those things in order to build attraction to you. All right. And so that's some stuff that I can say because I know that it works, but you're never going to hear that from women, at least women that are, not trying to dive deep into that kind of stuff, So suffice to say, guys, that's why, as well-meaning as this woman is about saying women do not fall in love with a man's absence, the number of guys that could prove her wrong, I could be doing videos like this all day and for the rest of my entire career doing this, But just know, guys, that it does work. And if women tell you it doesn't work, just be like, oh, yeah, it doesn't work. Because every woman's going to say all women are the same, that they all think they're different. They're all going to say, no, not contacting a girl is not going to work. No, you being cocky and a bit rude to her, it's not going to work. Fine. Let them believe that, because they need to have their fantasy of what works and what doesn't, because for them, it's all about romance and what feels good and all this other stuff. And you as a guy just need to know that these things work. All right. So just wanted to put some my 2 cents out there on that. Okay. Let's see here. We got a question in the chat here, or a comment rather. So see, comment says, I wanted to do cold approach, never done it, with the hostess at a restaurant, but I didn't want to use the usual pickup line. I just thought you were beautiful and wanted to say hi, but I chickened out. Any suggestions to say something more genuine, especially if I go back to that restaurant? I want it to be quick since she was on the job. Well, I've discussed this on the show before, but you trying to, okay, let's put it this way. You trying to go in the direct route. It can work. You could go up to her and say, hey, I don't want to ruin your day. I just want to say that I just think you're really, really pretty. And every time I come in this restaurant, I just see you here working so hard. I just wanted to, come over and introduce myself. My name is so-and-so. What's your name? Oh, my name's so-so. Great. You know what? I'm going to go get some food. But, hey, if it's cool with you, I'd love to get your number. You could very well go that route. I've had friends of mine that have done this and it worked spectacularly on them. All right. So you could go that route. But more often than not, what I preach in here is that you don't have to be so direct when you're doing cold approaches. Like I typically go what I call the transactional conversation route, which is like you go up to the person and you ask a request of them or start talking to them as if you were already in a conversation. So very simple. She works at a restaurant. You could go up to her and say, hey, just curious, like, what's your favorite thing on the menu here? Boom. Now you're in a conversation, because all we care about is opening her up to a conversation in a way that's not going to make her like put up her border walls. And so she's on the job. She has to deal with menus. She has to sit people down. It's very easy to be like, hey, just curious, I've looked at this menu a few times. Like, what is your absolute favorite thing on this menu? And hey, and you can be joking like, hey, I'm gonna hold you to it, because if I get it and I don't like it, I'm coming back up here. Like, now you're making it funny. You're making it flirty. Oh, that's so funny. Well, I say, I like this rice dish. Okay, is this really like the best thing on the menu? Like, be playful with it. Oh yeah, just totally. Okay. You know what? Since you said it's the best thing, what's your name? Oh, your name so-and-so. Okay, so-and-so. So look, I'm going to order this. I'm going to try it. If I don't like it, I'm coming back here and I'm going to let you know what I thought about it. And you better be ready for it, right? Then you order the thing, you leave. Next time you go in, you're going to see her. She'll be like, oh, hey, my boss, so-and-so, how's the thing? Now you've set up a scenario where she's looking forward to seeing you, if only to be able to see if what she said was right. In other words, you set up a scenario where she now has to prove you right. And once you put her in that situation, it becomes fun for her, because now she wants that dialogue. Hey, so you tried the thing last time and I didn't see you. Like, what'd you think of it? Oh, well, all right, let me tell you how it was. It was fine. Now you're doing playful banter. So make it a fun game for her. Don't be getting there serious. Hey, my name's so-and-so, and I just really think you're blah, 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 blah. No. Be playful. This is what you want to do. You want to be the guy that you want her to see you as in the relationship. So you go over to her, hey, so-and-so, so my name is blah, 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 blah. She's going to get an idea of that's how you're going to be in the relationship. And that's not a fun guy. Versus what I just said, you're making it fun, lively, jovial, you're being playful, and she likes the interaction. And then, more importantly, you're leaving her on a cliffhanger. You're saying, hey, I'm going to order this thing that you said is the best thing on the menu, and I'm going to come back here. Now she's going to be awaiting for when you come back. In other words, you've now built up anticipation for her to have to see you again. Then the next time you go into the restaurant, yeah, it's pretty blah, 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 blah. It was a great thing. By the way, I'm sorry, what's your name again? Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Hey, you know what? So I got to get out of here real quick. But I'm just here to order some food. But you know what? I would love to see what other things you recommend, either this restaurant or outside of it. Let me get your number real quick. Boom. Get the number. Get the freak out. Like, it really can be that simple. So hopefully that little strategy I just gave you helps you out. It is free, but you can leave a super chat, or you can leave a Cash App donation if that ends up being helpful, or just because you found this to be entertaining. All right. But hopefully that helps you out. All right, we got another question in the chat. And the question says, here's a couple questions. So just start typing questions. Oh, you know what? I actually I think this is from a woman, because it says Daphne. So that's got to be a woman's question. So do this. Ask the totality of your questions, and I'll come back to it and answer your questions. And in the meantime, I'm going to go fill up my water real quick, because it's hot out here in Cali. I love it. I love being out here, but it is definitely hot. So while that's going on, I have ebooks and audiobooks and programs on my website. And here is an example of what some of those. Hey guys, Harry Woman's in here. And I just want to tell. Hey guys, Harry Woman's in here. And I just want to tell you really quickly about some of the awesome ebooks that I have available at the website. So to start off with, we have my brand new book, Stop Losing Women, which is based off of my previous podcast. And it's over 284 pages of life-changing advice for your dating life. You're going to discover in the span of these pages the ins and outs of how to become more confident, the do's and don'ts of how to attract women, how to pace yourself during the dating process, and ultimately what it truly takes for you to be a more confident dater, so that way you can get out there, attract women, and more importantly, stop losing women, okay? The other ebook that I have on my website is called No Girls For You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams. This is the first book that I ever wrote, and simply put, it is a 12-chapter masterpiece that is designed to, in a very funny way, mind you, guide you through the ins and outs of why all the things you're trying to do right now to attract women can actually cause you to lose them. I mean, things like being the nice guy, overextending yourself, getting too many gifts, too many compliments, and a variety of other things that you may think as a guy I should be doing. This funny book's going to help you figure out once for all why you should not do those things and how to better yourself instead. So be sure to check that book out as well. The other book that's been very popular at my website is called Texting Like a Boss. This is where, for all you guys out there that have problems texting women or don't understand why she starts off so chummy in the terms of the texting things, and then she starts to kind of go away and you can't figure out what's going on or why, or you're not an efficient enough texter to be able to actually get dates by way of texting. Well, this book is going to give you 21 do's and don'ts that are tried, true, and tested, so that way you can get the results that you want with women when you're texting them, and ultimately not do the wrong things that are going to cause her to eventually ghost you in the texting realm. All right, so check that book out at the website. Lastly, my other popular book that I have there is called 10 Steps to Winning Back Your Ex, the step-by-step, no-nonsense guide to reconnecting with an old flame, regardless of who ended the relationship. And so for you guys that are like, hey, I think I lost a great one and she left me and I want to get her back, or you might have been the guy that's like, hey, I dumped her and then I realized I made a mistake and I want to get her back. Well, this book covers both of those scenarios in a very detailed step-by-step way that is designed to allow you to figure out what you did wrong, how you can show up better, and the sequence of events you need to go through in order to effectively win back the woman that you are no longer with. So if these things sound like things that'll be helpful to you, then definitely go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the products tab, where you can find a summary of all these books as well as my various programs, and they will be more than happy in helping you figure out whatever part of the dating journey you're on, so that way you will not be confused and you will ultimately be able to have the dating life that you want. So check those out at the website today. And we're back. It's really fantastic water. So, all right, Daphne. So I'm gonna go ahead and answer Daphne's question in the comments. So there's a woman in the comments that has left me a question. And her first question says, I asked the guy out. He said yes. We went on a date. He doesn't really text me, but when he sees me, we have really good conversations at our bucket. I don't know what that means. He may be a viewer of my show. I don't know if you're new to this. Hi, I'm Harry Wilmington, and I have a whole book at my website called Texting Like a Boss, 21 Texting Commandments for Your Phone. And so one of the things I talk about extensively on this show for guys is that texting between dates oftentimes kills attraction. And so I don't want to feel like I'm mansplaining to you as a woman, what that is. I'm sure you've had guys in your past that you were texting things that was cool at first, but then over time you start to notice this feeling in you that for whatever reason, it's like he's texting you during the course of the day, when you're out with your girlfriends, when you're at family events, and you start to kind of feel this thing of I don't know why I'm feeling weird about this guy all of a sudden, but I'm suddenly being turned off by him. And a lot of times women don't even understand that that's happening, but as guys, we notice it. We noticed very much the times when we had really high interest in a woman and we wanted to be a guy that played no games and we're honest and wanted to, if she reaches out to me, I'm going to reach back right away. And anytime I feel like texting, I'm going to do it. And we find that we get burnt by that. I don't know how old the guy you're dating is, but we find that when we're texting women nonstop, even when that initially said she was highly attracted to us and she doesn't mind if we text her nonstop, that when we do that, we end up losing the girl. And so I found in my personal dating life that I didn't lose any points more often than not for not texting women as much as I was before. And that's because I learned that in between dates, women oftentimes need a break. So I'm going to tell you what this guy's doing. This guy has probably been burnt in the past by women he over texted, and he's learned both from me and other various gurus. We talk about this. We talk about how if you take a woman on a date, you show her the best possible time you can on that date. And then at the point that the date is over, you say your goodbyes, had a great time, and then you leave her alone. And that will give her time to miss us. But in the process, for you as a woman, it's going to also cause anxiety. It's going to cause you to wonder, does this guy like me or not? And this is going to sound a little bit dark. This is where we want you to be, because that is, we have learned part of the attraction process for women is that they need to be not totally sure about where the guy stands. They need to have a little bit of mystery thrown in there. And nice guys that do mystery get women. Nice guys that try to be there all the time and tell a woman his every single thought and how he wants all this time typically don't get women. So this guy's being smart. He's playing his hand hey, you know what? I actually have a good time with her, but I'm going to do a better job building up her attraction if I save my conversation with her for dates. So chances are he's not going to be the one to initiate text to you until he's ready to ask for a date. That's something that I preach on here that, again, has worked immensely well for me and for the people that I've coached. So you as the woman, you're like, well, what's going on? That's where you kind of need to be in your attraction process to be more attracted to him. So if this guy were telling me the situation, I'd be like, good job on you, guy. Keep on doing that. Keep on like going on dates, showing her a great time, and then waiting 3 or 4 days afterwards to ask her out again. And so, again, you might not be aware that that's something that most women are typically attracted to or need in their process of dating a guy to be more attracted, but that's what we typically do that works best. So that's why he's doing that, So don't hold his feet to the fire. Don't be mad at him. All we care about is this, is he asking you on dates? And when he's on those dates, is he showing you the best time possible and giving you the attention and, telling you how pretty you are and, making out with you all this stuff? If he's doing those things, he still likes you. He's just playing cautious with text, because when we don't play cautious with text, we typically end up losing women. Just putting that out there. She says, sorry, I'm supposed to say Bible study. He came and sat by me with lack of texting. Is he interested? Again, I just went through all that, but don't assume just because he's not texting you that he's not interested. Because all I care, so for your end of things, all you need to worry about is this. When he's texting you, is he asking you on dates? If the answer is yes, then you're good. If he's starting to text you less to the point where he's not asking you out at all, that's when red flags will start to arise. But assuming that he likes you and he knows what he's doing, he will text you or call you when he wants to ask for a date. If he's not doing a bunch of in-between, then that's totally fine. And hey, I can tell you from personal experience, many, many years ago, I had very high interest in a woman, and I was like, you know what? Even though I've been teaching this for X amount of years, everybody's saying that I'm crazy, I'm going to just text her every single day. By the end of the month, no longer interested. And again, if y'all also think from a guy's perspective, if we're texting that much, inevitably, we're going to text the wrong thing or say the wrong thing digitally that we didn't mean. And now it's on your phone as permanent record. And that can be more detrimental to your feelings than if it had never been put in a text at all. So these are the things that we as guys have to think about, because we're not trying to over text you to where you lose interest. We don't want to text the wrong thing. And it's easier to do neither of those things if we're not texting you all the time. So then she says, second question. So I decided to ask him to a movie. Oh, you're that person. I was going to answer this during the chat. So this woman asked, I decided to ask him to a movie. Does he view that as a date or hangout? Also, if he liked me, why hasn't he asked me on a second date? I initiated both dates. Okay. So I don't know enough about this guy to really fully give a reasoning as to why he hasn't asked you out. The fact that he's saying yes is very positive. There are some guys that just grow up in a culture where, for whatever reason, they're not taught the ways of being able to ask women out. And let's be real, a lot of guys they don't have the proper training growing up. So they're very much in the realm of okay, I don't want to pester a woman or make her feel uncomfortable if what I'm about to ask her is not something she wants. So I'm going to leave it up to the woman to ask us to do all the things, because if she asks me out, then I know that she wants to go, and I don't have to worry about getting a no or feeling like I'm harassing her, And so those are situations where sometimes guys just need to they need to be told, hey, it's fine to ask me out, So this is a situation, again, you don't just go to him and be like, hey, you need to ask me out next time, blah, blah, blah. If he's saying yes to dates, that's a positive. And admittedly, on the show, I've said, if women are asking you out, fantastic, because if they're chasing you, they can't be replacing you. I do say that, So I would say this, is that if he said yes to the outing, for one, anytime men and women are going out at our age, I don't know how old you are, if you're in your 20s or 30s, anything past 18 or 19, if you're going out on a solo venture with a woman, outside of, if you're in a relationship already and you've already defined other opposite gender situations as just friendships, then I wouldn't count those as dates necessarily. But if you're asking him out to hang out solo, I just assume all those things are dates. Whether you said, hey, are we going on a movie date or not, that's a different situation. But I just, as a guy, assume it's a date. Now, because you said the word hangout, he might assume that it's not a date. And so again, if you're going to the movies, you're going to be talking to him, sitting next to him, probably being a little flirty with him. At the end of that, you could say, I had a great time. Hey, I'd love to go out on a date some other time. Maybe you could plan something for us to do. Let him know it's fine for him to plan outings because you are an interested party. Some guys, hey, I try to teach guys in here as much as I can about, you got to just know, you got to go in and be confident. Not all guys have grown up in scenarios where they were able to build up that confidence. And then a lot of guys like you might be, for example, like the first woman he's ever dated, or you might be one of the few that have actually shown him this level of interest. So, this is where I understand why women get frustrated when they're the ones going to guys and having to do all the moves, because it puts you in your masculine. I don't want you to stay there. Right now, you may feel like you are there, but the goal was to get him to be the one doing these moves. So that may mean you letting him know, hey, guy, but just so you know, I had a great time here. I'd love to go out some other time. Like, you should plan something. Like, let him know it's fine for him to be the one to plan because you're actually cool with wanting to do more dates with him. And then at that point, if it doesn't switch over to him doing more of that stuff, then you may need to find a guy that's like better at that. Because again, I do my part on here just telling guys, clearly this woman is saying they want you to ask them out. If he's not in the mode of doing that, that doesn't necessarily make him a bad guy. And it could just, again, he might have had previous experiences where there was trauma, or he didn't grow up being confident enough to know how to do that, but that's not on you. So if you're highly interested, let him know, hey, you can ask me out more often if you want to. And then if he doesn't do that or doesn't have the gumption to do it, then find somebody else, So hopefully some of what I've said has been helpful to you, and keep me posted on this guy in this situation, because I love doing updates on this show. All right, guys, let us get to the main crux of today's show. We're talking about no contact and pull away tests. So I have a loyal viewer that wrote me and has written me comments in the past, written me a lot of emails, which I've done videos on. And so this is just kind of like a general email because he's finding some of my older videos. I've been on YouTube now on this channel for like 5 years. I got a lot of back catalog stuff. So some of the stuff that I talk about on these shows, for example, I may have done shorter videos on previously. And so, I don't always assume people have seen these videos that I posted. So this guy just got to my pull away test video. And so he wrote me a message and he said, "Hi, Harry. I recently watched an old video of yours regarding men's pull away tests. Kind of intrigued me a bit. So I was wondering if you can help clarify a few things." So that video, I talk about, when you're dating a woman and she starts to pull away, I call it, and I've said this before, and I think it gets misconstrued in the conversation, is that a pull away test isn't always a conscious test. And more so, it's not a test she's trying to give so much as it is a test of your willpower when she starts to pull away. Because some women, again, I said before, if you're doing all the things and doing the most in the beginning, women aren't used to, well, they might have a bunch of guys doing it, but they're not in the habit of being used to the idea of getting a whole bunch of good treatment and gifts and flowers and things when they've done nothing more than talk to you for a few hours. And sometimes, we as guys go into meetings with women where we go on a couple of dates and we're like, they're perfect, they're the one, and we want to give them all the things, all the attention, all the gifts, all the compliments. And that can be too much for a woman, especially a woman that has a good head on her shoulders. A part of her is going to feel like, I need to actually earn more of this than I'm currently getting. Like right now, you as the guy are giving her the most, and she's like, but there's supposed to be a timetable, like, because they're looking at like how they're dating us, where they're thinking, I'm trying to bit by bit give a little bit more of myself each time, and he seems to be just ready to just give it all away. And that doesn't make sense to a woman. So what will happen is, in an attempt for her to reset the situation subconsciously, she may pull away as if to say, all the attention he's giving me right now, I have not earned this level of attention. It's kind of like, I always like to equate things to video games. It's like if back in the day, they had a thing called Game Genie, right? So for Nintendo, for example, let's say I'm playing Mario Brothers 3. In Mario Brothers 3, you have to go level by level, and then you get to these little mushroom houses where you can get like a warp whistle. You can get a leaf that'll turn you into a raccoon. You can get a P-wing that's going to fly you all across. Like you can get all these things, but you have to go level by level, and then you build up to getting those things. But then they built this thing called the Game Genie, where you could literally put this Game Genie on your Nintendo cartridge and you put it in, and now all of a sudden you start off level 1 with all the things, all the P-wings, all the power-ups, all the warp whistles. You just have it. It makes the game less fun. It makes it too easy. And part of you's like, all I had to do is put in a code and get all this stuff. Like, that's great. But like, I know I'm going to beat the game now. Like, this is kind of boring. So that is how women experience it when you come to the table and are like, I'm going to give you all the things. And their brain's like, whoa. He's giving us all the things. We need to get rid of some of these things. And so they'll start backing away and being less open to text or dates, because they're trying to reset to where they can come to, okay, wait, I need to earn some of these things. So I've tried to explain that, but guys don't get it. All guys hear is pull away test. Well, she's pulling away. Oh, she's playing games. And that's not what it's about. It's about the fact that her pulling away is a test for you to see, do you know what's actually going on? When she's pulling away, are you able to recognize, oh, I was texting her a lot. Oh, I was inviting her out too much. Oh, I was over-complimenting. Oh my God, I gave her so many gifts. Like, what was I doing? Like, that's the test. She pulled away. Why did she pull away? Once you find out the answer and you stop doing that thing, then boom, you'll find she magically comes back. And I found that to be true time and time again, which is why I did that video. But people think it means like she's pulling away on purpose. And some women are, but most of them aren't trying to pull away. Women are out here hoping that when they date you, you're going to be the last guy they date. You're going to be the last guy that they got to go to. And all they're on that date thinking is, oh, dear God, please let him do all the things right. Let him know when to reach out to me, but not do it all the time. Let him want to spend time with me, but also not be mad if I need my alone time. Let this guy be the one that knows how to compliment me, but not in a way that's too creepy. And guys get mad that women just want that stuff. So anyway, the guy wrote me. So he said he had a few questions, and I want to clarify that stuff. So first question he said was, how can men properly execute this test to regain a woman's interest? Example, do we just cut contact? Do we start texting less? Example. So basically he's saying if a woman starts pulling away, how do we execute our own version of the pull away test and or doing no contact, right? And he's saying it, how do we do this in a way that's going to regain her interest? And so this is the thing that I try to push to you guys, is that you pulling away from a woman or going no contact, this is where I again say, you're doing it not for her. Like, you're going no contact because she stopped reaching out or she's being less interactive with you, right? And you're basically saying, oh, she seems to be going away. Maybe she needs space. Maybe she needs time. Maybe she's no longer interested and can't tell you. But in either case, you're going no contact because at this point, you trying to chase her down is not going to be a winning strategy. And you're going legit no contact, meaning you're cutting off contact and you're moving on to other potential prospects that are out there. But as a guy, you just need to keep in mind that going no contact, it could possibly result in her wanting to reach out. I have a book on my website called 10 Steps to Winning Back Your Ex-Girlfriend. And it's a bevy of things that you need to be doing during the breakup process to eventually be the person that she would want you to be at the point that she decides to reach out or whatever, or you decide to reach out to her. But the one thing I say, the first rule that I say in that book is that if a woman comes to you and says either I don't want to be with you anymore, or she starts ghosting wherever they are, or we need time to spend time apart or whatever, that your response should be, okay. Like, you don't go into, but how could you? But we should be together. What can I do? I'm begging this and that. No, your first response should be like, well, if that's what you want, totally cool. And you're going to say, hey, you know what? If you change your mind later and I'm still available, then reach out. We'll see what's what. But you don't go into that begging or pleading, because sometimes, again, women are pulling away because their thought process at that point is you're too needy, you're too desperate, you're not treating them the way they want to be treated. And so therefore they got to get away from you for a while. And that while could be a day, a week, a month, a year, whatever, you know? But the point is that you don't then try to go fight that, right? And so you need to know, going no contact, you're not trying to do that like, okay, I'm gonna go no, because I've seen plenty of gurus be like, okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna go no contact, and you're gonna go no contact for 30 days. And then at the 30th day, you're gonna reach out. Well, now you've just ruined no contact. Because the idea is that if you go no contact, you leave her the heck alone, she'll have time to sit with herself and her thoughts and her feelings, and maybe she needs to go out and date some other guys to realize she was actually dating other trash guys and that you were the cream of the crop. And then the fact that you haven't reached out to her, maybe you weren't as desperate as she thought you were. Maybe she should come check you out again, you know? So the idea of no contact is you're going no contact permanently with the asterisk of, but if she reaches out, then you will take up the conversation, and then we'll get to the other questions later. But suffice to say, so yeah, we're not using no contact as a strategy to get her back. We're using no contact as a strategy for you to recognize that you have worth, and that there are other women out there that will want to contact you if they feel so inclined, and that this one decides to trip off and say, oh, for whatever reason, you're too much, blah, blah, blah. Hey, we all have the right to stay around with or not be with or be with the people we want. So if her feeling at the moment is like, I don't feel like this is going to work out, or I'm feeling whatever ick thing and I need to pull away, she's in her right to do that. Just like you're in your right to not wish and hope she's going to come back and to see other women. And that's the other thing too. During no contact, guys, very, very important. I just want to stress this. Please, please, please do not go into no contact, holding on to hope that you're going to get her back. And in the process of that, not be going after other women. Because I know what you're thinking. What you're thinking is, But if I go no contact and then I start talking to other women and then she comes back, she's going to be mad at me for talking to other women. Let her be mad. Because as I said before, sometimes women need to feel a thing to really recognize what's going on in their head. If she comes back to you and you're like, oh, I'm talking to such, and she gets mad at you, she has to now go home and think about why she's mad. Oh, is she mad because she's ego tripping? Like she thought you'd find nobody else and you found somebody? Or is she legitimately like, wait a minute, I'm feeling mad because I realized I actually had feelings for this guy and I didn't recognize how deep they went until I got mad at him. See, men are afraid of getting women mad or upset or angry, but sometimes that's the exact emotion that they need to feel to realize that they actually want you. And so, yeah, it behooves you during no contact to get your dating profile up and to go out there with your friends and have them meet you, introduce you to other women and other friends out there that you can talk to. And hey, you may find a better option to where when your ex comes back, you're like, actually, you are pretty contentious, and she's like on me every night. And so you could actually end up finding better. Yes, guys, there could be better out there than this ex or this girl that's starting to flake on you, you know? So no contact, you're going no contact in your head permanently, and you're going to give yourself permission to seek out other women. If the other woman that you wanted originally happens to come back, you can then decide if the new woman you want to get with is going to be there or if you want to go back to the old woman. But the point is, it'll be your choice versus leaving it all to her and what she wants, you know? So that's the first question. The second question he had, the second question he had is, does the men pull away test work on women who are losing interest or have low interest? Personal example, recently asked a woman out for a third date and she did not give me a straight answer, but made her bubble look pretty with ha ha and emojis. I personally chose to cut contact because I know this is generally a rejection, but I'm kind of convinced she left the door open considering she initiated the post-date text. I also didn't even text her a lot because I'm not trying to build rapport over the phone. Kudos to you for learning that lesson. So, look, guys, I make my dating life super simple, right? Women that have high interest will say yes and darn near plan the date for you, but they'll let it be known, like the previous girl. She said, I went on a date with this guy twice. I asked him both times. Now, we want him to get into the habit of obviously asking her, but the fact that she asked him 2 times, she's definitely interested, right? So there's no mix up of whether or not she's interested. She's asking him out. So at the very least, if you're going to a girl and saying, hey, want to go on a date, the next answer should be, yes, that sounds great. That'd be awesome. Hey, where are we going? Or I'll bring the snacks. Anything other than that, that puts you into maybe land. And it's worse when they say nothing, but to not give a direct answer, that's usually either a no or a I'm pulling back. So these are situations where if this were the case where that happened to me, I would like, you know what? I'm getting the read now. I'm not texting this to her. I'm telling you guys. At this point, I'm getting a read that, okay, she's not saying yes directly to the date. So I'm getting the idea that maybe she's not as interested in me as I thought that she was. But I still need to prove that to my brain. So I would wait a week. And then I'd ask her one more time, hey, so-and-so, I found this great restaurant, wanted to see if you were free on this day or this day. Let me know what works for you. At that point, if I ask a second time and she answers the same way she did with emojis, smiley faces, whatever, but isn't directly saying yes, or hey, maybe she's doing this because she's like, thinks she's going to read like a smiley face equals a yes. But again, women that like you will help you. They will give direct answers. So if I did this a second time, and I got the same response or ha-ha-has or emojis or blah, 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 or she went on some other tangent, I would know at that point, okay, she's not interested in dating me anymore, and then I would stop contacting her. Because again, there are too many other women out there that would give me a direct, all the women that I've dated, have been in relationships with, that have been highly interested. Anytime I've said, hey, so-and-so, let's do a thing, immediate answer, sure, okay, no problem. Wow, that sounds great. So because I've had that experience, the experience of, oh, ha-ha-ha-ha, oh, you're funny, as being an answer, I don't accept that, because while now I got to sit there and wait to decide what she actually means while this girl over here is ready to just say yes and pack me up in the car, like, what are we even doing? So this is a situation where it doesn't sound like she's all that highly interested. And so, but I understand that it can be hard as guys to get that. So that's why I tell you guys, if a woman you ask out and she doesn't respond or she says she goes or was whatever, I always tell you guys to ask one more time. That way your brain will have concrete evidence to itself oh, she's giving me signs to indicate she's not interested. Harry said she didn't say direct yes, so it's a no. So I've now seen this and I'm out of here. And sometimes as guys, we have to do things more than once to really convince ourselves that what's going on is actually going on. So at this point, I know if I got this kind of answer, more often than not, I'd be like, okay, she's out because she's not saying yes. It's a done deal. But for all of you guys that are just starting to learn some of this stuff, make it a point. If you ask a woman out, she doesn't respond, or she, is flaky with her response or says maybe or whatever and doesn't give you a direct answer, or she says, oh, I'll let you know. Give it a week. Ask her one more time. You get the same answer, get out. Because I don't want you guys concentrating on women that are going to give you maybe answers when, again, there are women out there that would directly say yes. So then the third question he asked was, say if the woman comes back. So she pulls away, then, say he waits 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. She comes back into his good graces. Say if the woman comes back, should we just try to schedule another date on the spot or make her wait a little longer? This is more of a general question. So I say this, again, anytime women reach out, let's say she was like flaky with her text for a while, she wasn't responding, whatever, and then like 2 weeks later, she reaches out, hey, so-and-so, hi, what's going on? So that's a positive sign. She's in our aura, so she's reaching out again. This is the time where I'd be like, maybe like, hey, so-and-so, like, what's been up? Oh, I've been doing so, this is blah, 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 blah. And then I'd be like, great, I've been just doing whatever, blah, 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 banter. And then at that point, I'm not trying to stay on the phone. I'd be like, hey, you know what? I'm really busy right now, but you know what? I'd love to catch up. Why don't we go out to dinner this week at such and such place? Let me know if you're free. Again, we're going right back into, after 2 or 3 messages, we're going back into asking for the date, because all we're trying to do with this woman is get her out on dates to build up her interest level, right? So at that point, again, she has a decision to make. Is she going to say yes to the date, or is she going to suddenly go ghost again? Which, let's be real, guys, as much as it sucks, if a woman comes back into your life and you ask her on a date and she stops answering, you want that to happen because she's coming into your life now to try to use you for attention. We're not trying to give women attention points. We're trying to date women that want to date us so we can eventually get into a relationship. So if she reaches out to you and then you banter a bit and you ask her for a date and she doesn't respond back, she's doing you a favor. She's letting you know, I unequivocally do not find you interesting enough to want to go on a date with, but I'll take these texts because it feeds me attention and I feel wanted. Don't give her that satisfaction. Again, you ask one more time. And then at that point, if she doesn't respond back, if she gets all flaky, if she tries to move the conversation over to something else other than a date, leave her the heck alone. Because again, there are other women out there. All right. But all this today, guys. So just to clarify again, as it pertains to pull away test and no contact, let's go with no contact first. As it pertains to no contact means that you are emphatically not reaching out to a woman, no text, no calls, no checking her Instas, no liking her post. You are going to make her feel as though you no longer exist. Now, if she's your friend on these various social media platforms, which, by the way, at the point that you start dating a woman, you should not be friends with her. Like, assuming you're meeting her as a stranger, you should not be trying to go on a date and then that night trying to add her to your friends group. I leave all social media connections for after we're in a relationship. So if a woman's like on a third date, hey, what's your social media? I will be telling them, say, you know what? Well, I'm on Facebook, but honestly, unless it becomes a thing, I think right now we should just get to know each other. And then if we decide this goes, further down the line, then we can add each other. I will say that up front, because I'm not going to have her trying to stalk my page if this doesn't work out. But that said, if you have already gotten to that situation and she's stalking your page and she's liking your posts and all this other stuff, again, do not take any of those as reads. The only read that you take from a woman is if she reaches out to you in a DM and says, hey, what's going on? Her liking your post, watching your stories. None of that means that she's trying to contact you. We want her to actually contact you. So if she's not, then in no contact, you are basically saying she doesn't exist anymore. Back over here to these other women. If she decides to appear again, hey, I'm back, blah, 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 you can then decide that's what you want to do. But we are not trying to wait X amount of days before we contact her again. She is gone. She no longer exists. She didn't feel like she had enough like of you to be respectful of you, to keep texting you or to say yes to your dates. Why would you want to keep trying to get her? And I get why we do it, because our egos are like, but I need to prove to her why I'm worthy of this. And our egos don't like the idea that somebody is finding us less than desirable. It's part of the dating game. You're going to go on a couple dates with some women and they're going to realize he's just not the guy for me. And as desirable as you think you were being, she might have found somebody else that was more desirable or decided that what you're bringing to the table is not desirable for her. That's totally fine. There's going to be other women out there that will find you desirable for who you currently are. Don't spend effort and energy trying to win back a chick that is flaking on you. But if she comes back of her own accord, that means that she's been given time to sit and think and realize that you're what she wants, at which point you now are playing a different game. She goes back in, you invite her on a date. And then also this goes into pull-away test. More often than not, pull-away tests are trying to tell you something. They're trying to tell you that for whatever reason, whatever tactic you were doing, whatever things you were saying, however often you were contacting her, those things were not gelling with her. And if it wasn't gelling with her, I can assure you, it probably isn't gelling with most women's sensibilities. So you trying to be the guy that's like, well, I should be able to text her every single day, and I'm just going to keep dating until I find a girl that's cool with. I got news for you, guy. In the beginning, most women aren't going to be cool with that. So you're going to be spending your entire dating life losing women because you're thinking you texting every day should work. Texting every day will be fine. Will be fine. Asterisk will be fine at the point that you get into a relationship. And even then, it should be 3-to-1. For every 3 texts she initiates, you initiate 1 text. This is true for a lot of things across the board. For every 3 times she initiates an I love you, you then initiate an I love you of your own accord. For every 3 times she compliments you, you leave 1 outstanding compliment that keeps her on cloud 9 for 3 or 4 weeks. I found that ratio works. I wish it didn't. I wish that the way we showed love and affection to women could be 50-50. But the reality is your 50 is going to feel like 150% to her, which is going to feel like too much, all right? You just being there for her and listening to her when she has problems and being able to take her on an occasional date, that is more than most guys have ever done for her, and she's going to appreciate it immensely. You doing more than that, it now makes it feel like you are, to her, like you're bribing her to be in the relationship. She doesn't want that. And more importantly, on her side of things, she's supposed to be the more affectionate one. A woman that is looking for a masculine man wants to be in her feminine energy. Feminine energy is compliments, is praising, is doing all the things. You doing all the things is going to make her feel like you're doing too much and that you're doing it for malicious purposes, and it's going to turn her off. So be mindful of that. So this goes to a pull-away test should let you know that the ratio of things that you're doing to her is more than it needs to be. If you're thinking, I'm doing 50-50, you're doing too much, which is why she's pulling away. So this is why, take that as a signal. Oh, maybe I need to cut back on texting. Oh, I haven't been giving her alone time. Maybe I should give her that. Oh, I've been doing all the most. I've been complimenting her way too much. Maybe I should curtail some of that. Compliments are nice, but too many might be going overboard, which is why she's pulling away. And so as you start to tap into what are the things that women actually need from me, you'll start to better recognize what things you're doing that are overkill that are causing these pull-away tests. And again, to clarify, pull-away tests are not intentional tests that women are oftentimes doing. They are tests of will for you to read into what it actually means. I remember one time I was dating a girl. We were getting along great, and then she started pulling away, and I thought, I was trying to call her all the time and text her all the time, and it's like I ended up going to her place. I was like, I didn't have any self-control back then. I was like, oh my God, I just want to see her. And I went to her place, knocked on her door, and she came outside and talked to me. It was like, look, dude, she was studying for a law exam, which I've come to learn takes a lot, And she would still be able to date me, but she was trying to see me once a week, and I was trying to see her 3 or 4 times a week. And she took me outside and was like, look, dude, I'm studying for a test. I got this thing going on. I'm about to travel. I just need time. I need time to myself, and I need you to respect that and give it to me. And in my head, I was like, I don't want to do that. I want my way. I want to be able to see. We're supposed to be liking each other. How is she going to like me if I'm not around? And I was just like, you know what, dude? Clearly, you trying to be around her and call all the time is not working. So just do what she said. And I was like, you know what? Fine, I get it. Okay, I'll leave you alone. I went home, and for a day and a half, I left her alone. I didn't contact her. She at that point in time, she lived only a few blocks. I could have just walked up to her place. I left her alone. I didn't try to reach out to her. I didn't ask her on dates. It took a day and a half before she reached out to me. Hey, Harry, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, you want to come over tonight? And that's when I really learned the lesson of so the pull away wasn't because she was losing interest. It's because I was doing things that made her feel like I was doing the most. And that makes her look at me like I'm being needy and desperate and begging for attention. And those aren't things that attract feminine women. And so I learned that lesson and went through that. And since then, I've understood, hey, if a woman starts trying to pull away a bit, but if we're in a relationship or we've been dating for a good amount of time and she starts to have that happen, before I just assume she's no longer interested, hey, maybe not text her for a day. Or maybe just, you know what, you want to have time to hang out with your friends for this weekend, go ahead and do that. If you want to hit me up, great, but if not, it's no big deal. And I found that works better. you know? So this is why I made that video. Like, I've learned not to take pull-away tests so personally. I use them as a means of reading into what's actually going on in the situation, that this woman that seemingly had high interest in me and wanted to be around me all the time is suddenly needing space. It could be she's losing interest, or it could be that I'm doing the most. And I found more often than not, I was doing the most. And so for you guys out there, don't let that be an ego hit. Like, sometimes we unintentionally are doing the most because we care about a woman, or we think we already care about a woman. We already have a high interest. We want to sleep with her, and our hormones are like, we got to do all the things. And our hormones are going to trick us into wanting to do all the things to get her. And sometimes being able to get her authentically means not doing the most, means being patient, means holding back a bit, means not spilling our feelings out. I just care about what works. And so if what works means being a bit more patient so they'll come to me, I'm going to do that. So hopefully that gives a bit more clarity to what no contact is and what pull away tests are. And there was something else on here that I want to read. There was a comment that somebody left under my pull away test video. He said, I start pulling back and start treating them like a friend, or I just ignore them. I've been through a lot of abuse being young, and I don't got time for someone who's just going to screw around with my emotions like that. I get the test, but here's the deal. You shouldn't have to test the guy when you're getting to know them. Stay cool and collected with people and getting to know, but I just don't want to deal with the whole emotional test thing. I don't got time for the lack of confidence that she has in herself to want to have to test me. So this is another guy that's reading things into this test that aren't actually there. Like, a woman is not trying to test you because she lacks confidence. A woman, we'll say for the pull away testing, again, it's not a conscious test. Usually they're pulling away because you're doing the most. But there are other things that women will test you on. And in my head, they have a right to, because they have the experience of dating guys that are less than, that have used them for money. I've done interviews with women on here where they've talked about guys that stalked them, or that used them for their money, or that hooked up with them intentionally to just hit it and quit it, or a plethora of other things. I've had women come in here tell me about stories of like married guys who dated them and didn't tell them they were married until after they hooked up. And so these are the kind of things that women go through, and that makes them think, you know what, before I date the next guy and just assume he's that great guy, I need to throw some things out there to make sure he is who he says he is. And you know what? I have no problem with that, because I tell you guys to also do things to test women, you know, test women to see if they're going to use you for your money, test women to see if they have other guys in the background that they're going to be trying to see, or like, you know, best guy friends that they actually have crushes on. Like, you also as a guy need to be testing, because it'd be great if we could just assume the person in front of us has no ill intentions and they've treated every single past partner with nothing but with greatness and grace and praise and all of the stuff. But that's not the reality. Women are out there that are dating you that have a past that if you didn't bring it up, they'd never tell you about. Or they have things going on in their current life that they're not going to bring out on date 1 or 2. You know, they might be using drugs at the moment. They might be embezzling money. They might be involved in schemes that you're not even aware of yet. Like, and you just going to a date assuming that every single girl is going to just be like, oh, I'm just a perfect girl and I'm not going to do anything wrong. You are dumb to do that. Sorry to say, you're dumb to do that. So this is why, you know, women take 2 to 3 months to vet us properly. You should be doing the same, and you should not be assuming that the girl in front of you is going to be like the most perfect person or completely honest or whatever. Like, it'd be nice if they were, but it's also not wrong to test them to make sure that they are that way. And so for women, you know, of the two sexes, we're a lot stronger, we're bigger. There are plenty of guys out there that are just about sex and have ill intentions to get it in whatever way they possibly can. And so, yeah, women have to go out there and occasionally test certain things. And most of the time, they're not going to be like heavy tests, you know. She might decide one day, hey, you know what? I've had a busy day. Let me just not text him for tonight, and I'll text him in the morning. And then you get butthurt. Why don't you text me back? Oh, now she knows, oh, I'm glad I did that texting test, because this guy is crazy because I didn't text him like one night. You know, and that's kind of stuff that women go through because they've had the experience of jumping into a relationship, thinking the guy's gonna be all even keel. And then one day she comes home from work and just knocks out. She wakes up in the morning and has all these texts from a guy that's all angry at her. That shit actually happens. All right. So you can't be mad at women's tests. You got to look at what are the things that women go through in their dating lives that would make them want to give a test. And then I don't get butthurt because I know I'm going to pass the test. She's going to say some stuff to try to test me something. Like, I'm going to get into a disagreement with her, and she's going to say something just to see if I'm going to agree with her, disagree with her, or keep the stance that I had. And I just know. So all I got to do is like keep the stance that I had. Like she's going to say she disagrees. And I just got to say, well, I'm sorry you disagree, but I still feel this way. Boom, I passed the test. Oh my God, how easy was that? But that test, so many guys will fail. So many guys will be like, well, I think this way. The woman will be like, well, actually, I think this way. Oh, you know what? You're absolutely right. Boom, test failed. But a woman needs to know that because in that example, for example, if danger arises in their lives and, we're trying to think of like ways to solve it and the guy has the better solution and she doesn't, for him to be like, well, what do you think about it? That's going to put her in mortal danger. So yeah, there are times that women are going to test you and it's perfectly fine. But if you're a guy that gets butthurt by that, it means that you're not the kind of guy that is built up to the level of being able to be authentic enough in who you are and what it means to be a masculine guy to pass those tests. Because honestly, when women come to you to test, you should be able to pass like 1 or 2 tests and she'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. I've had, for example, where like if say a woman, like you ask a woman on a date, right? And you're like, well, I think we should go here. And she's like, well, how about this place over here? That's a test. All you got to do is say, well, we can do that some other time, but you know what? I really want to take you here because X, Y, and Z. Boom, you done passed the test. The test was, are you man enough to pick an activity and not let her walk all over you to where you do her thing? So many guys fail that test. And it's a simple test. But again, you got to look at these tests. It's not about the test in the moment. It's about what is this thing testing for her about future you? Her testing to see if she can walk over you now is a test for when bigger problems arise later. Say another, somebody in your, business or your entrepreneurial venture or whatever is trying to like bully you out of something. Are you gonna be able to stand up to him? If you can't stand up to her, then you can't stand up to this person later on. And so these are the things that women are doing when they're thinking about these tests, is that this test is going to give me a read for something later on in the future. And you know what, guys? They're usually right. Like, I know we hate to admit that women are like, women testing us, that shouldn't be a thing, blah, blah, blah. But most of the stuff that they test us on to get reads from us, those reads are pretty accurate. Like, if you're a guy that's like needy and desperate, for example, her doing a test to test that, it only replicates into you're going to be that way later in the relationship. So again, if you build yourself up to the kind of guy that can withstand these tests, then you being tested by women will not hurt your feelings. You that aren't ready for that kind of stuff, you're going to get mad at every test because you know you're going to fail it. Get to the point where you're able to pass these tests. Now, if you need help with that kind of stuff, if you need to figure out, what it is about your dating life or how you are that you need to, get better at, so that way you can pass these tests and you can just know how to be a masculine man overall, go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, sign up for coaching. I would love to help you out. Well, hopefully for now, that gives better insight into no contact and pull away tests, what they actually mean and why they are given. All right. So with that said, somebody had asked a question, but I'll get this person over here. So let's see. We got a wide variety of questions in the chat. So let me get to these. All right. Let's see. So we'll go back to Daphne. So in answer to, she has a question. She says, could I say something like, it's okay to say something like, it's okay for you to invite me to go and do things? You could phrase it like that. You could try to phrase something like, hey, like, on at the end of the next date, like, I had a great time. So you could say to him something like, hey, so what's our next date going to be? Just phrase it like that. Phrase it like, so what's our next date going to be? Boom. Now he knows, oh, you want me to plan some stuff. So you could try doing that. All right. Let's see. We got a question here or thing. It says, once she reaches out after 2 weeks and we hang out. Okay. So question in the chat goes, once she reaches out after 2 weeks and we hang out, does she need to do all the calling and texting? She already reached out 2 times, out of which the first time we hung out. I will say this as a guy, again, you don't lose any points with level-headed women if you're only texting or calling to ask for a date. So I would say the thing is this, as a guy, a good barometer for you, if a woman's attracted, is that she's going to be reaching out to you in between dates. Like, she's not going to reach out to ask you for a date because if she's trying to date a masculine guy, she's going to leave it up to you to do that. But she may just want to, hear your voice or say, I just want to see how you're doing today. And that's what we want. We want women reaching out because that means that lets you know that they're starting to build up more attraction to you. And then when that happens, you can do a little, I never say on here, like, if she reaches out, just go into, hey, nice to hear from you, go to the date. You can do like a little bit, oh, nice to hear from you. What's been up with you, blah, 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 blah. And then you can say, hey, you know what? I'm busy right now, but I would love to catch up and see you again. Let's go out on a date for this day or this time if you're free, whatever, right? But your goal when you initiate text is to ask for dates. If she's initiating more of the text, you can respond back. That's great. But your end should be mostly to ask for dates. I find in relationships, when I'm in relationships, more often than not, I'm still just reaching out or initiating the text to ask for dates. Also, I found in relationships, the women themselves are usually the ones that are reaching out a lot more. So I just kind of sit back and like, if they want to do banter with me or flirt or send me memes, I will let them do that. Because again, that is feminine energy. Them sending, hey, cutie, hey, sweetie, sending you cute little memes like I miss you or sending emojis, that's all feminine energy. And that works great coming from them. Coming from you, not so much. That's why I tell you guys, 3-to-1 ratio. For every 3 times she initiates a text, you initiate a text. But when you are initiating text, you should be trying to ask her out. So hopefully that answers that question. Let's see. Question in the chat says, a girl has described situations where people are asking her if we like each other. Oh my God, this is, okay. Okay. Common scenario. A girl has described situations where people are asking her if we like each other, and she says, just as friends, am I cooked? Well, if you have you gone on dates with her? If you haven't gone on dates with her, then it's a nothing burger. If people are asking her what you guys are, what that indicates to me is that your guys' interaction is such that, at least on your end, you're giving out vibes that indicate that you're interested in her. Whether or not she's giving those same vibes back is a different story. But the fact that she's saying that they're just friends, it could either mean that because you guys haven't solidified what you are yet, that she doesn't want to come off and say, well, we're actually dating each other, interested, because it's that limbo phase. Like, especially if you're in school, if you're dating, but you're not officially boyfriend or girlfriend yet, then people are trying to ask her to clarify a situation that she's still trying to like feel her way through. And so women will often, even if they're dating you, will say, well, we're just friends right now. We're just friends. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the direction she's going. It just means for public facing, because you guys aren't in anything that has a title yet, that she's still trying to figure that out. And so the best you can say right now is you guys are friends. Now, that's one way. The other thing could be, again, if you guys aren't actually dating, then it could be that she's not seeing you as a potential romantic interest, at which point she's trying to let people know, oh, no, we're definitely friends. I'm still available to date other people because we are just buddies. At which point, yeah, you're kind of cooked. And I'd say in either scenario, if you're asking her on dates and she's saying yes to things that you're actually calling dates, then just keep doing that. And then at some point down the line, she will come to you and say, hey, so people have been asking us like what we are. And I've been saying friends, but like, like, what do you think about that? At which point, that's the code for it's now time for the conversation about what this is. At which point you say to her, well, we've been going out for a while. Like, what are you thinking and feeling? Put it back on her. Like, what are you thinking about the scenario? What are you feeling based on our interaction? Where do you see this thing go? Like, now you're putting it back on her to answer those questions. All right. So, but you know your situation better. So if you guys have just been hanging out as friends and not calling it dates, then it could just be a friendship thing, because women at any age, especially at the age that you're at, they're still understanding that you can have guy friends and it's totally fine, even though they're not aware that most of their guy friends want to hook up with them, So you got to read that for what it is, and then see if she's saying to people, we're just friends, but she's saying yes to things that are being called dates, then just assume that that's what she's saying until there's a title, and then proceed with caution, So hopefully it helps you out. Let's see, we got a question here. Let's see, or a comment. Let's see what's this. So this comment says, in my opinion, women that play games or put men in awkward situations to test him are low quality. High quality women will simply try to get to know you to see what kind of person you are if they're interested. I have some tea to sell you in China. I think that's the right phrase. But because I've dated high quality women, and high quality women test also. In fact, more so, because if they are high quality, they're very aware of their position in the dating market. They're aware that they are either a rarity or that they have stuff going for them that a lot of other women don't. And therefore, they're not going to just let any guy come into the scenario and mess this up. Now, and by the way, because, I found this also too. This is also something that a lot of guys don't want to admit, is that the more you're able to tap into your masculine energy, the more that women are going to be able to read that from you, and they're going to test you less, because women trust men that are in their masculine, guys that are leaders, guys that are able to make decisions, guys that are able to be patient and not butthurt if she doesn't reach out for a few days, And not the only, but I find that women are more likely to test men when they're questioning that man's masculine core. Because again, for women, it's dangerous for them to not be with a masculine guy that's going to be able to provide for them and protect them and be able to get them out of situations and look after them. Because they're thinking long term, if I have kids or I'm pregnant and I'm going to be put in situations in my life where I'm going to be weak. You know, if I'm pregnant, I'm going to be wilding and I can't run from things. Am I going to have a guy there that's going to be in his masculine energy to protect me, to be able to like go to work and provide for the family and stuff like that? And so I'm saying this as a guy that early in my dating life, I was not in my masculine energy. And I found that was the time when I got heavily tested by a lot of women, at the point where I was able to be comfortable with my masculinity and not think it was all toxic, and be able to lean into, being able to make decisions, to be a leader, whatever. I found that women would test me significantly less. But then I also found if during the course of relationships, I went from showing masculinity to doing things that were like, either I was lying or being devious or being, leaving her to make more decisions than I was making in the beginning. That was me now tapping more into feminine energy, which is making her tap into more of her masculine energy, which now would make her test me more. So you got to understand, guy, that yes, it'd be great if women never had to test us. But the reality is that whether they're high quality, low quality, mid-tier, rich, poor, whatever, ultimately, women want to be with men that they trust are in their masculine. And so as men are able to tap more into that, they're going to find that the testing goes down significantly. If you were a guy that is always anxious around women and nervous, well, guess what? Women are reading that energy. They can't trust a guy that's needy and nervous and desperate, because that puts them in an unsafe position. So yeah, they're now going to test you to see if the things that they're seeing from you are what they are actually seeing. Because, hey, you could be giving off needy energy and not know it. And then she tests you on some things and realizes, oh, you know what? He's not as needy as I thought he was. But if you just didn't come with needy energy or desperate energy, she wouldn't have had to test you in the first place. This is why it's good for you as a guy to really learn, A, what women are actually attracted to, but also what they need in relationships to see from a man that they consider masculine in order to not have to test as much. So that's work that we have to do for ourselves. That's inner work. And again, if you need help with that, guys, go to introvertdatingsuccess.com and we can help you get on the path towards, things we can identify about you that you could work on to really give a more masculine appearance. Because right now, guy, you could be a guy that in your head, you're thinking, but I'm a guy. I got testosterone. I got a dick. I mean, I have all these things that show I'm a masculine guy, but you could be unaware of the things you're showing. Matter of fact, let me show you this, for example, real quick. Let's see if I got this guy up on here, because I was looking at stuff earlier before the show. Let me pull this up. You know what? Okay, bear with me for a minute, guys. I'm going to pull this guy's page up. Let me just check on this guy here. Okay, so this guy right here, I'm going to share my screen for a second. Hold on here. Let's see, present, share screen, and YouTube. Okay, this guy. I'm going to show you this guy's page. Where is it? Yes. Okay. At the stage. Okay, this guy's page. Okay, so this guy right here, right? This guy made a video years ago called "I'm 27 years old and I still have had no girlfriend," right? And then he made an update video later on talking about how he's 29 and still had no girlfriend, but he's learned a lot more, blah, 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 this is that, right? But anyway, where's that screen? Just lost it. Okay. Hold on one second, guys. Let me get back to that screen. Where is it? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I got so many tabs open on this thing. It's ridiculous. Let's see. I'll move this for now. Add it back to the stage. Let's see. Add to stage. Where is that tab? Jeez, my Louisa. Oh, so here. Crap. Okay. So anyway, if you guys can see, I'm gonna see if I can zoom in on this page or not. So let me get this bigger here. Cancel. Okay, I'm back. Let's see, big screen here. Okay, trying to scroll through this guy's thing. You know what? Let me take this off here for a second here. Okay, stop sharing screen. I don't know where the screen freaking went. Oh, that's why I was. Okay, let me take a separate here. Okay, cheers to technology, people. Share screen. Back to him, and we'll share. Okay, so freaking arrow. Add a stage. All right, so share. Okay, so this is guy's page, right? So as you can see on here, if we're being objective, right? This guy, if you look at him, this is the guy. So just scrolling through his page, right? he's probably thinking like, man, I don't know what to do, how to get a girlfriend. Like I'm being myself, I'm being honest, I'm being forthright. But if you look at just his appearance, right? His appearance, and this is just me being judgmental, so forgive me. If you were to ask me if I felt as though he was displaying the masculine version of a guy, objectively, I would have to say, I don't think he's doing that. Like, see his face, like the way his face is, the structure. And here's the thing. This guy could actually demonstrate himself as being a masculine guy. But the way he's been brought up, or however he is, right? Like, he doesn't have the right haircut. He's not presenting himself in a way that to women would look like he's being masculine. All of the stuff he's wearing in his clothes, every single video, he's wearing like a t-shirt that's wrinkled. He's got like, even the videos where he's wearing like a collared shirt, they're wrinkled, they're unkempt, right? So this guy's gonna go on dates and think women should like me, like I'm being masculine, I don't understand, and he's gonna get tested. He's gonna have women that are asking him questions. He looks like the kind of guy that has the voice like, well, because the first thing, and I've heard his videos, he doesn't actually sound like that, but he still carries himself as a guy that has no confidence. He doesn't look like he's trying to lead anything. And so, yeah, that guy is going to get tested a whole lot by women, because based on just looking at his thumbnails, I would not get any indicator that he'd be the kind of masculine guy that women would go for. Men are unaware of this, and then we're in our own bubble. We have our friends telling us we're so great and we're so wonderful, and if a girl doesn't want you, she's crazy, and so it's just all these women are whatever, and so how dare they test you? Guy, if you look like that and you're not carrying yourself in a way that let women know off rip that you're a masculine guy, you're going to lose. This is why improving your wardrobe, improving your haircut, improving your stance and how you carry yourself, improving the things that you wear, getting an iron to your clothes. Like this sweater. This sweater was completely wrinkled before the show. I threw it in the dryer for 20 minutes because on camera, I want people to see me as an authority and know that I know what I'm doing. And this starts with how I look, how my shirt looks. Is this pressed, or is this looking like a guy that's like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Please listen to me. And so the way in which you carry yourself plays a huge factor into how much women are going to test you. So if you get that lesson, and you start learning the things that women are expecting to see from us as masculine men, you'll get tested way less. But again, I don't fault women for testing us, because plenty of men out there know how to lie and get in the front door. And if women weren't testing, then that guy would get away with a whole lot versus a little bit. But anyway, see, continuing on here. This guy said, let's see, going back in the chat a little bit here. Okay. So let's see. Better 2 weeks ago. Okay. So I got a question in the chat. The question goes, I got her number on Monday, texted well on Monday, texted once on Tuesday evening. It's now Wednesday morning. Haven't even read my WhatsApp yet. I met her 2 weeks ago, mixed feelings. But have you asked for the date? We are not in the habit of trying to build rapport with women on text. The goal is you get the number. If you're meeting her on a dating app, or maybe you met her somewhere else and you got her on WhatsApp, you banter for a small bit, and then you ask for the date. I've heard too many stories from women saying, I texted a guy for like 2 weeks, and at no point in time did he ask for the date. Women want you to ask for the date. So it's been 2 weeks. You have not asked her on a date yet. That is on you, guy. You should be asking her on the date. Continuing, got another question. Completely off topic. How do you recommend we respond if a girl says she lives too far from a certain date location? She is trying to change the date a day earlier, not happening, with different plans. I want to keep the date in the original date we agreed upon. How can I tell her I'm not changing plans whatsoever? Her version of living far is 30 minutes plus train ride. Okay, guy. Okay. Oh, well, he said I answered the question before, but I'll say this. Yes, I've said before that, as a guy, I just said in the show now, right? That if she's trying to change the date or where the date's happening, that's not the best sign in the world, and that you need to say to her, let's do my date now and do whatever. So I say that, right? And I do mean that. That said, this is where we get into a little bit of advanced stuff, because you have to read sometimes more into what's actually going on and what's being said, right? So when you read this and hear this from a woman, what you're hearing is, okay, this girl's trying to change plans on me. I said I want to do this date, but she's trying to do a date that's closer to her place and blah, blah, blah. Like, what's that about? I got to be the man. And Harry said to, keep the date as is, this and that. You can totally do that. You can go that route. When I read that, what I read is this girl wants the date closer to her place because if things go really well in the date, she may want to invite me back. And now the question becomes, if that's the situation, do you now either A, keep the date as you originally planned it, or B, do the date that she wants to do because there's now a chance of you possibly going to her place. You see, right now, you're doing the nice guy thing, which is great. You're doing anything, okay, I'm going to set up a date that's somewhat far out, so that way we both have to travel a little bit, whatever. And hey, I don't know how far away this girl is. She could be like an hour from you, so I get if you don't want to drive an hour to see her, it is what it is. You say, I want to keep the date where it is, and if you don't like that, then kick rocks. But she's also potentially setting up a scenario where if the date goes really well, you could get invited back. And for me personally, I'm all for like exploring that possibility. Like I real talk, guys. I mean, I know I talk a lot about here about, keep the date plans and that, but also I'm not an idiot. I can see when women are doing certain things that it's like, if you guys have talked before, you guys met on a dating app, or she knows what you look like, whatever, she might already be thinking, man, I'd love to do some stuff, but you know what? I can't make it so obvious that I want him to come to my place. But I could say, hey, let's have the date closer to where I live. And then if things just happen to go well, I could be like, hey, I got to go back to my place. We'll get something. Or, oh, hey, you know what? You can, if you agreed to a date near me, you can come pick me up. And then, oh, he's got to drop me off at my place. Dude, all that to say, the scenario is being set up to where you could potentially go to her place. This is not a situation where I would be so gung-ho about the date's got to happen as blah, blah, blah. If she's setting up an alley-oop, see if the alley-oop's there. Worst case scenario, you spend a little bit more gas to go a little bit further than you anticipated, but the payoff could be amazing. So again, do with that what you will. Again, you might be able to read into this more and think, but you don't want to do that yet, and that's totally fine also. I'm just saying what I think is possibly going on, which is she's already setting you up for good things to happen later. I wouldn't necessarily turn that down. So just wanted to put that out there. He said, I never thought about it this way. Yeah, dude. Hey, look, I've been in the game for a long time, dude. I've had reading these things like that. I remember there was one time when back when I didn't have a car, right? I would go on dates where I would catch the bus to go to the date spot. And then I keep my dates short, 45 minutes to an hour. At the hour mark, I'd be like, okay, you know what? The next bus is coming, so I gotta go. At that point, the women that were highly interested would be like, hey, you know what? I could totally drop you off at your place. And there early on, I'd be like, no, that's okay. I can catch the bus. It's no big deal. And then I start to think, wait a minute, wait. She's volunteering to take me back to my place. Why would she want to go back to my place? So she can see it, so she knows where I live. So I'll think blah, blah, blah. And then I started being like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. And you know what? They would drive me back to my place and then stuff would happen. So I've done this enough to know that this is what girls are so good at. Women are great at bottom layer thinking. Like a surface thing is said and they read 2 to 3 times more into it. Guys need to get on that same journey because you could be missing out on women that are throwing all kinds of hints at you or saying certain innuendos that would actually indicate they want to do other things, but you're just reading surface level because, I need exact language and blah, 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 blah. Dudes, get over it. I had some guy comment this week that said, he left a comment that said, basically, learning how to deal with girls is tough. It's like learning a second language. Yes, learning how women think, talk, act, and feel is like learning a second language. But just like if you're in a Spanish class and you learn Spanish the correct way, you get an A+. If you learn what women are actually saying or what they mean when they do certain things and you can read into it, you get bonus benefits and you win. So as a guy, because I know that a girl inviting me to a date closer to her place means that she may want to do some stuff, I win because I get to go on a great date and work best case scenario, I get to go to a place and have a fun night. At best, we go to a place and make out for a bit and then I go home. But either way, I get further along simply because I knew how to read into that. And yeah, if you like that tip, guy, and thank you for the super chat, I have so many other tips like that I offer in my one-on-one coaching calls. You can go to get those at introvertdatingsuccess.com. And also my ebooks are chock full of these little insights. My Stop Losing Women book, I have tons of stuff in there just like this that'll get you on the up and up so you'll know what to be doing. So that way women will feel that you know them. Because if you make a move, like for this example, right? If I were to say, hey, that's great, let's do the place. That woman now knows that I know what she's putting down. She knows that she put down the invite to do a date near her place because stuff could possibly happen. The fact that I was able to read into that and do that, that shows a woman that I know women. And that's going to make her feel like, oh, I'm dealing with a guy that's fully in his masculine. He knows what I'm putting down without me having to say it outright. And I've said before, guys, women don't want to have to outright say stuff because in society, they get judged for it. Her saying to this guy, hey, come to my place and have a date near my place so we can hook up, that's going to make her look like a hussy. So she has to word things and hope that you just get it. And the more you're able to get it, the more women you're going to be able to connect with, hook up with, and get in relationships with. And that's all I'm trying to teach you guys on here. So if you need help with that kind of stuff, go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the coaching tab, click on the ebooks products tab, and get learned on this stuff today. All right. Let's see. We got another comment, some other comments here. Okay. This guy said, I agree with you on most of these points, but the way women micromanage men's behavior feels oppressive. I haven't experienced much of this behavior balancing act with foreign women. I mean, hey, different cultures, different results, but also I know that, there's been a lot of talk now recently of like, passport bros that go to other countries that also end up losing those women because, we like to think that, oh, the women here are all trash and women over there are going to be so much better. And yet that could be true, but also women at the end of the day are women. There's going to be some baseline things that you as a guy have to come with. Now, maybe in those other countries, being defined as a masculine man, maybe there's less of a barrier to entry to that. And hey, if that's the case, then I say stick to foreign women. It's totally fine. But I just learned over time that like, ultimately, if you're not showing up in these spaces in a masculine way, and whatever that means for that culture, then you're still going to lose out. But I've dated as an American, and American women are also fine. There are plenty of American women here that are willing to like let their guy lead and to submit and to want to just, be the housewife. Like those women still exist over here. But I think that so much of our culture, honestly, social media hasn't helped. And so much of our culture is like stuck on, Americans are very much about being independent and doing your own thing. And I think that gets in the way of, in a relationship, both people have to depend on each other. It's seen as a weakness, in America at least, of a guy at times they need to depend on a woman. So I'm not all about like, don't ever depend on a woman for anything ever. I'm saying women are expecting you to be the leader and they're expecting to lean on you more so than you leaning on them. It's not that there's not times for that, but you as a guy should always keep in mind that you need to be figuring out how to be more masculine, how to be more confident in yourself, and how to get out of various situations. That is very much a good thing that's going to help you regardless of what kind of woman you're dating. Let's see, got a question down here or a comment. I have plenty of women who find me desirable. The problem is either I don't find them attractive or there is a glaring red flag. So I can't help but get caught up on women who check all the boxes. I mean, yeah, that's the hard part. Is like, at the point that we find a woman that checks all of our boxes, we now become the ones that get in simp mode. We become the ones like, I got to hold on to this thing. And I just found that you got to treat women that check all the boxes the same way that you treat the women that you're just kind of like ho-hum about. Because realistically, again, all these women want to be treated the exact same. And so the women that are the you see as the 9s and 10s don't want to be put on that pedestal. And they want to be treated as if they're just a regular person that you just happen to be attracted to, versus because you're attracted to them, they're your whole life. And that's a hard balancing act. It's a thing that takes time to learn. And so again, I can help you with that a lot if you go to the website or just watch through my YouTube videos. There's plenty of videos on how to be a more stoic guy and how to not let things bug you so much and how to act around women that you find immensely attractive to where they're not like pushed away by that, So hopefully some of that stuff helps out. But that's all I got for today, guys. Thank you so much. We got a rousing crew of 20 people in here. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show. I also put this up as a podcast, so you can find this streaming wherever podcasts are found. And if you guys have stuff you want me to talk about on future shows, you can definitely leave comments under any of my videos, because that's where I get this content and stuff from. You can also write me at harrywilmington@gmail.com. But in the meantime, go to introvertdatingsuccess.com. Check out my ebooks, audiobooks, and programs, all designed to help you date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Thank you guys so much for watching today's show. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I will catch you guys on next week's episode. We do the show every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so join me at that time. I'm out.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man.